Alright guys, we're back today with a much requested video. It's the 96 LS swapped OBS. So a lot of you guys were asking about this truck and what happened to it and all that kind of stuff. So I am back here with the owner, Matt.
What's up, guys?
He's here. He did quite a lot of work on this thing. He and I weren't able to get together and like do the actual swap and stuff because we have different schedules and that sort of thing, but it turned out good. He's got a lot of work done to it. He did a pretty good job. So we're gonna go over this truck and see how he did it and all the wiring and what he used for engine control and all that stuff. So yeah, let's dive in and take a look. All right, open that bad boy up.
Nothing really spectacular. It just looks like a truck motor inside a truck.
There we are, folks. See, but that's the good thing about it, though. Like, had you not told anybody, or they don't know what an LS looks like, this looks like the factory engine, you know, and that's
yeah.
kind of.
And honestly, I mean, I guess we can get right to the beginning of it. Is it fit really well? The easiest part was getting it in and out. We used ICT swap mounts, and they just needed a little bit of modification on the OEM clamshell. You had to like grind a little bit of it off.
Yeah.
And once you did that, you set it in. I used an advanced adapters flywheel to hook up to the stock transmission, because the transmission's stock, so is the torque converter, and everyone's going to tell me that's a stupid idea, and it is. It's going to get a 4L80E. So wasting money on a torque converter for a transmission I'm not going to use very much longer doesn't make sense. So I'm just running it with the stock transmission.
Yeah, like why buy it twice when you just can buy it once, right?
Other than that, the fitment of the engine was good. As you can see, those are the stock manifolds from this 6-liter. They fit perfectly. No modifications required. Trying to think anything else mechanically, how it's sat in there. The Y pipe is custom, so if you're going to do that, I just went to an exhaust shop and I said hook the manifolds to the rest of the exhaust.
Right. Also notice you is this the factory AC unit here?
This is for the 96 to 98 Vortec guys. This is the stock compressor, and there's a kit you can get if you search any LS forum. There's a guy named Lex Tech, and we'll put it maybe in the comments down below.
Yeah, check out in the comments. I'll have a link for that.
If you want to know how to find the guy, he's not a business or anything. He's a dude who saw this problem, and so what he did is he came up with this bit here, and this is the stock LS piece, this is the stock OBS piece, and he made this so it adapts to the pad mount.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that's super easy. And then over here, because that's where the alternator is supposed to go,
yeah,
he came up with this plate here. This plate just bolts onto the water pump and it holds the alternator. And then this is the OBS tensioner with a new pulley that it converts from the rib to the smooth pulley.
Right, so it's the OBS one, but you re-pulleyed it so it would accept the belt.
And
right?
he gives you all these parts. The belt, he gives a recommendation. I had to guess, took me 3 tries to get the right belt.
Right.
And the only thing, if you're going to do this, here's a little tip. There's a bolt right here. If you look on the other side of the alternator, this bolt, that's what it used to look like.
Oh, okay.
And I think what was happening is it was kind of flexing and doing this weird shit when it was moving, and it clipped. It was starting to clip the head of that bolt. So I just cut it flush.
Right.
And I threw 1 belt off this already. Since I cut it flush, I haven't thrown a belt. So if you're going to use the Lex Tech kit, that's how my experience has been. Your mileage may vary. Other than that, that's the whole front accessory drive.
Oh, I see there. So you were hitting the bolt and then you just flattened it around.
Yeah, it was nicking this and then it frayed it. And then
it wrecked your belt.
And it wrecked the belt.
Through it, yeah. Gotcha.
So I cut that flush, and it hasn't done it since. Not to say that was the problem, but we're doing good. So
right.
That's about that.
Cool. So it's kind of hard to tell unless you're a real OBS guy and you're really looking hard, but your cooling system looks factory. Like, honestly, like you can tell like you did some of your own cutting and stuff like that, but what did you, because the factory is a mechanical fan, is it not?
They didn't come out with an electric fan on a Silverado or Sierra truck until 2005.
Right.
So these were all mechanicals. This is the stock LS hose that came with his engine. So this is from a 2001 Sierra.
Right.
Fits perfectly. Didn't modify it at all. The lower hose, I had to use one of these universal,
corrugated.
Choose your own adventure hose.
Right. Yeah.
This fan is from an 05 Plus Silverado or Sierra. I'm not sure exactly what it came off of.
Yeah.
And this is the stock shroud from the OBS.
So the stock OBS Shroud accepted the 2005 dual electric fans.
Kind of.
Right.
Basically, this fan, when I got it, you can see where I've done some real shit-ass cutting work here. It had these ears coming up here.
Yeah.
So I cut those flush, and then there was some ears on the side, and I just cut those flush. And then the fan just sits right down where the old shroud would sit.
Right.
Sit it down in there, and then all I did is I took the stock upper shroud, because obviously you don't need all the crap here, trimmed it out, you know, to make it look something decent. And then it's actually holding this right here. These are the stock fan shroud bolts, and then there's some clip nuts underneath that I just reused.
Right.
And bolted all together, and then I've got it zip tied on the bottom so it doesn't go anywhere, but it is solid.
Yeah, like
Works
he's reefing on that thing and it's not going anywhere. And as far as actual cooling capacity goes, like it's been doing everything it's supposed to be doing in terms of
yeah, like it's never been over 205 on a hot day in traffic. Fans come on, it kicks the temperature down. I think it's a 190 thermostat in this engine, and it's factory.
Right.
So I didn't mess with the thermostat. I haven't had trouble yet. Not to say if you were going to be a racer, if it'd be a different story.
Yeah.
But it's working. So.
Yeah, I mean, as long as that's where everything gets hot, is when you're in traffic and it's like 40 degrees outside, right?
And the nice thing is the Terminator will control the fans, and you can set all of it, and then it just runs off these two relays.
Oh, okay, so you got it all relayed, and then the relay goes into the Terminator.
No, well, the relays are just hooked up to the batteries, and then the Terminator, you use two of your outputs, and it just triggers the relays.
Oh, okay, so in the computer you have it set at so-and-so temperature, it comes on.
Yeah, basically I always run it with one fan. If the second fan comes on, I've kind of got it as a, like, okay, we're getting really hot, let's start working hard to get it down.
Right.
And then eventually when the AC is finished, and again, talking about the AC, this doesn't work yet.
Right.
It will work. It's just I got a big leak somewhere in here, so I got to fix that, and I have to figure out the wiring.
So it's not a system problem. It's just you have a leak and it needs power.
It just needs to be wired correctly, because the original OBS harness and the computer is what controlled the AC.
Right.
And of course we don't have the old computer, as you can see.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So you went with this. This is a relatively new product from Holley, the Terminator X, and there's the Terminator X, and then there's the Terminator X Max, correct?
Yeah, so this is an X Max. This will control drive-by-wire and transmission. If you just want to control engine, you just go with the Terminator X and save yourself some money. This is running the engine and the transmission. Honestly, I highly recommend it.
Right.
It's so easy. The wiring is so nice. The transmission, literally plug and play. Didn't have to do anything else with it. Engine, plug and play. And here's one thing that was my big question is, well, how do I make this thing feel stock, yet use this computer system? And I kind of blazed my own trail, but this is pretty much the ticket right here. This is where the Holley harness hooks into the OEM harness. And I just built a plug, and you can see it's not totally cleaned up here. We're going to have to do a little more work, but...
this splice right here is where the Holley talks to the factory harness.
Yeah, well, it doesn't do a lot of talking. There's a few wires here that, like, the Holley needs these two red ones will be, what do you call it? Like ignition hot.
Yeah.
So that's one of them's for the Holley, for the engine, one of them's for the transmission. I'm trying to remember what all these are. The blue wire, I believe, is for tack output. And one of these, this striped wire right here, that'll be for the speedometer. So I'm using 3 of my 4 outputs, and I think that's the only thing that I could say is maybe not the best about the Terminator X Max is you get 4 outputs.
Right.
4. And if you're, Dominators and stuff have way more outputs, but for what I'm going to use this for, it's lots for me. So I've got 2 outputs used for my fans, 1 output for my speedo, and then I've got a spare output for whatever whatever I'm going to need it for. Everything. But this basically marries the harnesses together.
Right.
So I've got all my gauges work except my oil pressure gauge. And I guess with wiring, what I did, if you go to somewhere like lt1swap.com, they show you how to do a standalone LS harness,
right,
and then how to marry it with actually a OBS truck. And basically what I did is I just took the wiring harness out of the truck. So you start with the fuse panel. There's a connector down there. The wiring harness runs under the brake booster, onto the engine, and then it actually ends up over underneath the receiver dryer, that black plastic bit.
Oh, okay, so that's where the harness comes out
Well, it comes out there, and it comes out over here.
Right.
So I took the whole thing out of the truck. It takes you no time. It's really easy.
Yeah.
Laid it out on a bench, and I took out every single wire that had to do with the old engine that I wasn't going to need anymore. Just to thin the wiring harness down so it's clean, looks nice.
Kind of a like it's a painstaking like.
Oh, it was monotonous as all hell.
Yeah, like it's not something you can like rush and just slap it all together type thing. But
LT1swap.com has all the information on like pinout harnesses, pinout charts and stuff like that. Lex Tech, the guy who did this, also has that information if you hit him up. And then basically I just kind of kept the wires that I still needed. I still have the wiring for the AC system, and then the wiring for gauges and stuff.
Right.
And then you kind of just, you mix the two of them and lay it out. Like, this isn't totally clean the way I like it, but it works.
It's pretty clean. I mean, like that's what I mean. Like, it has that kind of factory look. Like, if it didn't say Terminator X on it and nobody told you it was different, like really it would kind of be hard to tell, honestly.
Now they say this should be inside somewhere. There, like, it's not waterproof, but I figure it's not going to be seeing a lot of water, so I just put it here. Maybe that's a bad idea. I don't know.
Well, if you're doing, I feel like if anyone wants to do this and you're doing like this on a straight daily driver or winter or rain, you know, like that's where I would put it inside.
Yeah.
This is kind of a weekend warrior toy, hot summer day type thing.
Exactly.
Like, you're not going in monsoon season to go drive it around. You know what I mean? So.
And it doesn't get winter driven anymore.
Everyone,
it did.
Yeah,
it
right.
Anymore.
He'll be the guinea pig if his ECM craps its pants. You'll be the first to know.
Yeah. If it has its first hot supper, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
But basically, that's the wiring. I've stuffed it down in there, really covert looking like. There's a leaf. That's the main connector. The ABS doesn't work anymore. I don't know that you'd be able to make it work with this. Maybe you could. I don't know. My big thing is this thing outputs speed.
Right.
A speed signal. I don't know if you can split it. I don't know what you can do with it. I've only got it running into the speedometer. My cruise also doesn't work right now because I don't have it connected.
Right.
It needs a speed signal as well. So again, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I might figure it out. I don't know. And if I do, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah. So, but because like these are things that in my daily driver, sure, I want that. But if you're doing your just hot rod truck, like how often are you on the highway using cruise?
Exactly.
Right? So
it can work, and what I've been told is that you switch this out for a cruise box on like a 2000 or 2001 like GMT 800 truck.
Yeah.
And this cable's a bit shorter, and apparently that's all you got to do, and it'll hook right back up to the stock. Because you can see there's a spot for the cable.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
And then that runs.
So apparently it just needs to be shorter. You just swap it and it's good to go. I don't know. Haven't done it myself. That's just what I saw.
Again,
on the internet.
it was like a meh type thing. You
Yeah.
know? Like I don't need cruise control. If I have it, sure, okay, but I'm not gonna bend over backwards to try to get it to work, right?
Power steering for you OBS swappers. This is the stock power steering pump from the LS engine.
Right.
It's a direct fit. These are the stock hoses from the OBS.
Really?
They work perfectly.
Swapped right across, eh?
This is a Hydro Boost pump. So you'll see here I've got a little plug here. And that's just that would be what goes to the Hydro Boost on a truck that has Hydro Boost.
Right.
So I've just got it plugged off. Some people have said that there's trouble with plugging this off because it blows up all the time. Mm-hmm. I have not had that problem. And all I've used is just some hose and some clamps, a fitting, and then an MPT cap.
Right.
And it's done. Other than that, the hoses are a direct fit, so perfect.
Easy.
It was
really easy. That's really easy because that's on the other side of that. That's one of those things that I personally wouldn't want to lose is power steering.
Because a
lot of guys go, oh, you know, like manual's okay, you save a little power, and it's like, sure, it is in a light Camaro. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but when you're in a pickup truck, that's something like you want to save, right?
And it was like a little bonus for me because the OBS power steering pump I had was shot.
Yeah.
And this thing steered like crap because this line kept blowing all the time. If you've got an OBS, you probably know all about it. That's why I had this hydraulic line made. So it's like I'm done with this thing blowing. So I had a proper line made. But the pump had been run dry so many times that it just sucked. And I was like, well, I'm not going to replace the pump now. I'll just find an engine with a good pump, and I did. So
yeah.
You could say I had a power steering pump problem, so I LS swapped it, and it solved the problem.
If anybody has, well, you know what? I think everybody that's looking at this video, clearly, A, they're into OBSs, and B, they're looking to LS swap an OBS, and there's a lot of reasons why you would. Like, you know, we're all going to thank the 5.7 Vortec because it was a good engine to everybody,
Yes.
but it had its day, and you want something with more response and more power, and honestly, well, maybe not now because of your internal situation, but if you had it set up factory, probably be like just as good on fuel anyway. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, and I mean, it is harder on fuel, of course. And here's the thing with the Terminator. I don't know anything about tuning. That's why I went with this, because you plug it in, you run your wideband, and it starts, and it just runs. I don't know how to tune HP tuners or piss around with any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good bridge to get me on the road, let me learn, and as I'm going, I can now figure out what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And it'll start you out, and it'll take you to a place that, you know, if you know how to tune, this will do it.
Well, yeah. See, because
I don't know how to tune, so
right.
I'm learning little
because
by little.
you know you can. This is for stuff like me. Like I'm pretty mechanically inclined, but if you give me a laptop and tell me to tune an LS car, like I don't know where to begin.
I'm still pulling up fuel tables, and I'm just like, I don't know what any of this is.
But that's the beauty of this, guys, because this is a self-learning unit.
Yeah, and as long as you have your AFRs set in the table, you know, it won't let itself, you know, go crazy and blow up. You know, you can wreck your engine with it, don't get me wrong, but I really haven't messed around with it too much, but I can see once I know what I'm doing, this will allow me to get to a place that's like, okay, I can, you know, tune the fine things that I want. You know, it's got boost control, stuff like that, so when we go turbo, eventually, I have all the setup for that already. I don't have to buy boost controllers and all sorts of shit like that. Boost gauges and wide bands, it's all included.
Right.
So it's kind of nice that way.
Yeah, like you really have to plan ahead on what you want with the truck and what you're planning on doing with the truck, because this stuff, like he was talking about, it's set up for everything he wants to do in the future, right? Like he wants to go boost and all that stuff, and instead of
or nitrous, if you wanted to nitrous it, you could do it with that.
You're set up and ready to rock.
But
you know, well, you never know. A little sniff of senior giggle.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not to say that using the stock ECM is a bad thing. People use a 0411 PCM and swap these all the time, and they work. I just don't have HP tuners. I don't know how to use it. So my initial investment is a little more with this, but it takes me farther.
Right. And let me be clear, guys. Like we're not sponsored or anything by, you know, Holly or Terminator and stuff.
I'd like to be sponsored, but we're not.
Hey, Holly.
Yeah, we got you.
What up? But the thing is, we call it when we see it. If there's a good product on the market that does everything you want to do, this just made doing this in an OBS or anything else really easy.
Yeah.
You know, because before it was you could do it. Guys have been LS swapping OBSs for years.
And,
you know
actually, before when I bought this engine, this hadn't been released yet.
Yeah.
So I have an 0411 PCM and I have the harness, and I was just going to go, you know, again, lt1swap.com. It's like, they don't sponsor us either. But he has all that information, and it's all free. It's right there on the website. And I was going to do everything that he said to do, and it would have worked just fine. But this was like, I only had to pare down one harness instead of two.
Yeah.
And it just, literally lay it in, hook it up, and when I started it, literally 3 revolutions and it was running. Unbelievable.
See, and that's what you're getting for the money. Like I said, like we don't have anything to do with LT1 swap or the Terminator or anything like that.
Those are the resources that I used to figure out, because I had the same problem, and maybe you do, that, you know, you're watching this video and you wonder, gee, I would love to LS swap my OBS. I had a lot of questions, and a lot of those things that I didn't know, I just kind of dove in head first and was like, I'll just figure it out as I go, and it worked. So.
Yeah, like, and that's kind of the purpose of this video too, is like, there's guys wanting to LS swap OBSs everywhere, like absolutely everywhere, and there's so many questions, like how many times did you in this build, because there isn't a good in-depth, especially with the Terminator, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how many times did you have questions where you're like, well, what am I doing here, you know what I mean?
My biggest concern was with the Terminator X, how is I going to make my stock gauges work? How is it going to make my AC work?
Yeah, so there's the wiring, there's the AC, you know how it's mounted in there.
I would not recommend doing this.
No. See,
we basically just did this. We went to our part source, which is like your O'Reilly's or AutoZone, and we just found a filter. We had to like really modify this to make it work.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it because my air intake temperatures are like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because I'm pulling nothing but hot air here, but I just wanted to get it running. So
I don't want to hear anybody on in the comment section going, "Ugh, why'd you do that? That's stupid. You're just sucking hot." We know.
Yeah, we know it sucks.
We know.
But you know, if I turbo it next year, then we'll have that sorted out. If I don't, I'll go on Amazon. I'll get a China Boy air intake and just get the filter over there, and it'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, we got everything sorted out. You know how the exhaust work, guys. This whole swap, like, you've seen the video where we were pulling it. Like, this is actually like a month later or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And he had this in and running in like a weekend.
Yeah, like I took some time off. Yeah, a weekend, and then it took me about 3 or 4 days of like straight in the shop, like going hard to get the wiring and all the other little tidbits of shit. And I fired it on the last day, and and then there was a little more, you know, work. It just takes, you know, a little bit at a time. Yeah,
like you have to be patient with stuff like this when it's not designed for this, but you're making it work, and that's exactly what he did. He took his time. He did every, you know, wire by wire. Like, you have to have a lot of even you guys watch my build video. Even I'm not quite that patient, but look at the payoff. Like, everything looks nice in factory, and now he's got a 6-liter LS OBS that feels like a factory truck. If you're gonna take anything away from this, it's just it can be done. You know,
it can be done. And if you have questions or comments or anything like that, put it in the comments below. I'll watch it. If you've got a question that I have an answer for, I'll give you an answer. I don't know everything about this, but I'm learning just as much as anybody is. I'm no expert by any stretch, other than the fact that I've done it, so I got that. So
yeah, he's the resident OBS guy, or in my circle anyway. So if you do have questions, yeah, put a comment in there. You know, it can be anything. It doesn't matter. He checks regularly, and he'll comment on there. And yeah, so I think that'll do it for this video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, because we have a lot more stuff. There's lots more plans for this truck, and I'd really like to share that with everybody. So I think that'll be it for this video with the mechanics of it and the wiring and stuff like that. So next video, let's go for a drive.
Sure.
Let's go fire it up and rev it up and see what it sounds like, and we'll go for a drive. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Zip.